So Bhagavad Gita says in the previous adhyaya, that is the 7th adhyaya, Sarva Bhutasthamaatmanam Sarva Bhutani Chatmani Ikshate Yoga Yuktatma Sarvatra Samadarshanaha. And he also said there are 4 categories of people who approach him: Artha, Jijnasu, Artharthi and Jnani. These cover all the sections of the society which recognize Paramatma for their own personal purposes. But ultimately, Tesham Jnani Nityayuktaha Ekabhaktihi Visishyate. So he emphasizes the approach of pursuit of knowledge. Even the karma should lead to the acquisition of knowledge. So like that, the previous adhyaya, namely the 7th adhyaya, has given to us the superiority of Paramatma. Why should we recognize Paramatma as superior? You can't live without somebody being much above all of you, all of us. So we'll have to recognize that everything is not done by me, not done by you, not done by any third person. There is some superior force which is governing all these. So it is quite logical, and in that sense it is quite rational to recognize that there is some superior power governing all the objects. Now at the end of the 7th adhyaya, he said that there is, earlier also he said that there is continuity, that is from one janma to the other janma. So how do you make the 2 janmas integrated? That is the main purpose of this 8th adhyaya. That is, your action today governs your goals and rewards and actions tomorrow, that we see in our everyday life. Action of X influences the benefits or otherwise of Y, and action of X in one stage of time also affects his rewards or functions in the different stage of life. So the time and space are covered in terms of the present life. You see, the time interdependence, the space interdependence is covered presentation so far, but the interdependence between this present time and next time, present space and next space, has to be clearly spelt out. So we have already seen that one who does yoga, dhyana yoga, and Arjuna asks very rational question that what happens if I am not able to fulfill my dhyana yoga in this very birth? So I will become yoga bhrashta. That means I am not a person who has fulfilled the purpose of my yoga. So Krishna Paramatma says, don't worry, neha vikramana shosti. Like that, a number of principles of life, philosophy of life are put in Bhagavad Gita. If we bring them out and make them relevant to our everyday life, we admire Bhagavad Gita more and more. Instead of developing a distaste for it, we develop interest in it. Neha vikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. He says, don't worry, begin the dhyana yoga. There is no loss to you. I provide for your continuity. Even if you keep 10 rupees in the bank, your bank balance will be maintained, your account will not be dead, it will be continued. And there is no loss in beginning, in making a beginning. Make a beginning. What is sound philosophy? You tell the students, or tell the colleagues in the office, or tell the people in the house, children, or so make a beginning. It is not lost. So these are again, we have to call out the principles of life. Now once I am reminded of our great scientist Abdul Kalam. I had invited him to deliver Vikram Sarabhai Memorial Lecture. I was chairman Indian Council of Social Science Research. I went and met him, and Vikram Sarabhai was his guru, and he spent more than 1 hour with me, not only discussing about this event but also discussing about Bhagavad Gita. He was a very great scholar in Bhagavad Gita, I discovered, and to my great surprise, and he said we must passionately make the messages of Bhagavad Gita percolate to all walks of life: rural India, poor people, rich people, corporate sectors, politicians, ministers, everywhere the principles of Bhagavad Gita should be spread out. Then he narrated in the course of his Vikram Sarabhai Memorial Lecture one incident. He said Vikram Sarabhai, when Abdul Kalam was still an young scientist in the office, gave one problem to him, one challenge to him. I do not hesitate repeating that example which he had given in his lecture. He said, but Abdul Kalam said that he could not do it in the prescribed time. So he was in a way sulking from seeing Vikram Sarabhai. Then Vikram Sarabhai once came to his desk and said, "You come to my chamber." So he took him to his chamber. He said, "Why do you think that if you are not able to do this task within the week or 10 days or 15 days which I had assigned to you, you will not be able to solve? So you will be able to solve it." So with that spirit reinvigorated in him, Abdul Kalam ji said that he resolved not only that problem but took many more challenges to make many innovative contributions to the field of science. So that is, he is one of the Bharata Ratna and celebrated as a great scientist of the day. So this spirit is preached in Bhagavad Gita. When Arjuna was in depression, Krishna Paramatma did not dismiss him. Krishna Paramatma did not order him, say you do the Yuddha. If he had said, he would have perhaps done it, but he went in a very systematic manner to remove his moha, remove his shoka, remove his weakness of the mind, and put him on to do his prescribed duty, and also conveyed to him as to how he should do his duty. That is supposed to be the Nivritta Karmanusthana framework. So here we have a number of principles for life. Neha Bhikramana Shosti. So make a beginning. This is what Vikram Sarabhai seems to have told him to him. And similarly, we have many students in life who do not start. If you make a start, you will be able to achieve things. But if you fail to start dealing with a problem, you will not be able to resolve. So such a great principle is enunciated here. So in the same way, there is continuity between one life and the other life. And Arjuna says, "I will not be able to complete my dhyana yoga in this birth. What do I do?" He said, "No, don't worry. I have provided for you to, in the next birth, you will be born either in a family which is well versed in yoga, or you will be born in a rich, well endowed family where there would be a lot of respect for yoga. You will continue to perform your sadhana," and did it. Now this link between one birth and the other birth, which is accepted in our philosophy of life, has to be explained first. So it is not just becoming yoga bhrashta. To be born in a good family, you have to do something more than merely giving up yoga in the middle. So something more is to be done. And so in this 8th Adhyaya, Krishna Paramatma says that the way in which you leave this body, the jiva leaves this body and goes to the other body, is equally important. So here he begins by saying, defining Brahma, Adhyatma, Adhibhuta, Adhidaiva, Adhiyajna, and then he answers all these 8 questions which Arjuna asks. Aksharam Brahma Paramam Swabhavo Adhyatma Muchyate Bhuta Bhavoudbhavakaro Visargah Karma Saunditahan Adhibhutam Ksharobhavahat Purushascha Adhidaivatam Adhiyajno Ahame Matra Dehe Dehabhritamvara. Then he says, Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha. So when this jivatma is leaving this body, then you must remember me. Now again I told earlier why Krishna is so autocratic, so arrogant, so haughty to say you remember me. So if some of us say that you remember me at the time of your death, people would laugh. Because Krishna is an icon of perfection, and he is the true person to be in our focus all along. Nobody is as perfect as Krishna. This is what our fundamental faith is. Or if you don't want to call Krishna or God, take an entity which is perfect. There has to be something which is perfect, otherwise this world would not have been created. The other day I was sitting in the balcony and looking at the skies, full of stars and full of clouds, and sometimes clouds moving, sometimes stable, and the sky was going into unlimited expansion of space. Suddenly I became a little philosophical. I said, who did my ancestor create this? Did my grandfather, great-grandfather create it? No. So I have to accept that there is something supernatural. You see, so this feeling that there is faith, that there is something extraordinary power to govern this world, has to dawn on us, whether he is a scientist or an ordinary human being. That is why everywhere he emphasizes jnana and vijnana. do not feel satisfied with the object of the material world as it is. If you see a cell phone, don't be satisfied that it is useful for communications, but go behind it. Try to understand the principles of circuits, principles of chip, how the signals go, all that. But that is also not enough for understanding. It is not even Vijnana. I have told several times in this discourse, V means Paramatma, Paramatma Jnana. So recognize that Paramatma or a superior power exists in giving these capabilities to the different objects of the world. So that is useful for us. So everywhere he says Jnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yajnatva Mokshase Subhat. So here, to have a better life in the next birth, or to have a better life in the future, what we do presently is important. Don't think that, oh, this time I will take corruption, I will take some bribe and get the work done, and later on I will correct myself. Bhagavad Gita to be read only in the old age, why I should worry about the spiritual aspects of life? So there is no escape for being spiritual in this sense of the term, value based, throughout your life. So that is why when Prahlada was preaching the Daitya Balakas in the 7th skandha of Bhagavatam, he says, Kaumare acharet prajnaha dharman bhagavataniha. And then he asked the Daityas to give up the atrocities and very cruel way of life and adopt the principle of having faith in Paramatma. Kaumare acharet prajnaha dharman bhagavataniha. And many Haridasas, and he also says, Durlabham manusham janma tatapyadhruvam arthadam. This Manushya life is very unstable and it is very difficult to get. We have come to this Janma after series of several lakhs and lakhs of series of Janmas. 84 yes, 84 yonis, and we have come to this. So don't get it wasted. Then Purandaradasa says that Manusha Janma Doddadu, Manava Janma Doddadu, Ida Hani Madali Bedi Huttapagalira, Kannu Kai Kal Kivi Nalige Iralake, Mannu Mukhi Maralaguvare. That means this life is very precious. Don't get it wasted. Use it properly when your eyes and ears and hands and nose, they are all functioning properly. So don't get it wasted. This is the message of our philosophy of life. Don't get it wasted means not indulge in excessive Vaishayika Sukha, not the pleasures of the world. So that will be very trivial. But use it for productive, more welfare oriented activities for the mankind as a whole. So in that sense, there is a continuity in this birth itself from one action in a stage of life to another action. Don't think that I will be more virtuous and more value based in later life. Right now it is inevitable for me because of my livelihood. I should take some bribe or misbehave or do injustice. Those who indulge injustices in the office do not realize that they are accumulating some negative forces in them. For instance, a person is very deserving in the office. The superior boss does not want to promote him because he is not favoring him, he is not doing any SS and sir to him. So despite the person being very honest and very sincere, very hardworking, very efficient, he finishes all his files on time, this boss writes a very bad CR in him and ruins his career. Now he thinks that he has done the right thing, but this negative act would always be cribbing, he would be cribbing about it. I did that, I should not have done that. This leads in him some negative thinking. So Papa is nothing but negative thinking, Punya is nothing but positive thinking. So wrongdoing at any time would be a wrong thing, not pertaining to a particular time or context or a purpose. So we have to avoid the negative forces to prevail upon us and allow the positive forces to be always superior. That is the philosophy again coming in Bhagavad Gita. In Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. In Rajoguna, Tamoguna leads you to doing all these activities recklessly. See, but Sattva-guna would give you pleasure of life, but would not excessive happiness and pleasures. So he says, so just as there is continuity in this life from one stage to another stage, one situation to another situation. So how time and space are integrated, are interrelated in deciding or defining your moments of life. In the same way, from one birth to the other, the actions of this world or this janma are influencing your attitudes and qualities, attributes and opportunities of the other world. So to link this, bring about this link, the 8th Adhyaya is telling us the scientific foundations of this linkage. He says, at the time of death you must remember me, so that I am an icon of perfection. Yah prayati samadbhavam na yati nastyatra samshayah yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamayveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. That is why, you know, if near the deathbed, those who are conscious, later on he says the person himself should be conscious and take his prana in a particular manner, make it go in the Sushumna Nadi. But if he is so much of in a situation of helplessness, the others around would whisper Narayana, Narayana in the ears, so that he remembers the Narayana. But if the man goes, if the person, man or woman, goes from this world with certain obsessions in mind, they will not be able to get a good situation in the next life.
That happened to Bharata.
Now, but that's what I am telling just now. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamayveti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. The Bharata Raja was a Rajarshi, and one day he came across a small deer, you know, because the mother deer went away frightened by the roaring of the tiger. And in fact, mother deer gave birth to a small baby out of the fright of the roaring of the tiger, and it ran away. And he was going to the river for morning ablutions and bath, and he found that this deer to be protected. He took it to the, that was fine, that was the pranidaya, he did it. But later on he became so much obsessed with it that he was always thinking of it. If the deer is not in front of him, he would feel very sad about it. So at the time of his death, he was only remembering this deer, which had now grown and become bigger, but still his obsession for it was so great. So in the next birth, he is supposed to have been born as a deer itself. But he had, by extraordinary power, some memory of the past birth. I did that mistake at the end of my yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam temeva iti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. Always obsessed with that figure of that entity, he gets the same body in the next birth. How true it is, how true it is. Many times we get many examples among human beings also. And so he became the deer, and he was so conscious of his wrongdoing, and he was with the rishis, was eating only naivedyam, and he wanted to avoid the mistakes. And the next birth he again became the human being, and there he wanted to be very conscious. Somehow God has endowed in him the memories of the past births, and he tried to avoid any wrongdoing, so he became Jadabharata, totally neutral.
Excuse me, sir. So does it mean that we should not have too much obsession towards the materialistic things as well as spiritual things also, sir?
No,
or can we have obsession towards
no excessive
things?
Obsession
in materialistic things as well as spiritual things?
Well, we have to take it in the right spirit.
You have to think of God alone, nothing else.
You know, no, so much obsession.
So much obsession, it is not good.
Absolutely, yeah. So much obsession which generates in you the negative forces, negative thinking.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, to give you an example. So suppose one is highly spiritual minded, okay, then he forgets his responsibilities to the family, to the system. One has to be part of the society and do the spiritual pursuits. In the same way, a materialistic or excessive materialistic man would always say, where is God, I have done everything. These things are called as Asuri Sampat, Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat.
At the time of death, you need to remember God alone, nobody else. But it is impossible unless you have a practice over time.
Yes, exactly. Yes,
Abhyasam.
that's what later on, Abhyasa. So then,
sorry, sir, one more question. So then you say that at the time of death, and we should think about God only. It's okay. If it is normal death, it's okay, sir. But some people, all of a sudden, they die in accidents, for example. So
No,
when they don't realize, then they don't even identify their death.
No,
so
but
then
we
in
don't
such
know.
cases,
No, you don't know what kind of mind's activity is taking place while they are dying. You know, it may be happening in split second, but they might have gone through a number of thoughts, some of which may be about the family, some of which would be about the God. So that is why he said, to be able to think about only God throughout life, you practice this habit of attributing your successes to Him, dedicating your jobs to Him. It has to be developed as a practice. Then, you know, completing the story of Jadabharata. So when he became Jadabharata, he is called as Jadabharata. In Bhagavata Purana, this story comes. He was taking care to see that he would not get attached to anything. So some people in the forest wanted to give Narabali, and they took him. And he said, you come, you are very well built, stout and so on. So he went, and even goddess Durga or Kali did not want the Narabali of this person. And then once he was sitting quiet, and the Rahugana Maharaja was going in that direction, and they are short of one person in carrying the palanquin. So his people went and told the Raja, there is one stout person sitting. He was a very short fellow. So he comes, and he says, you come and hold this palanquin. He said, okay. So he did not want to say anything against what was coming in his way, with the fear that he may do something wrong. Then Rahugana Maharaja is a very haughty king, very obsessed about his own position. And when for every moment the Jadabharata was seeing an ant, he would jump and would not hold the palanquin properly. Twice or thrice Rahugana Maharaja threatened him, threatened the holders. Who is responsible? Then the rest three said, the new person who has come, they were feared that the king may punish them. So they told that this person. So this Jadabharata listened to Rahugana Maharaja twice, thrice, fourth time. Then he suddenly got sort of said that this is the proper time to teach the philosophy of life to this person. So he started saying, what do you think? Are you the king? Are you able to control your own destiny? Do you avoid sickness? Do you avoid any wrong things that happen with you? So you are Aswatantra. The Paramatma is Swatantra. So he keeps on telling the philosophy, and at the end of this discourse, Rahugana Maharaja asked the people to stop the palanquin, gets out of the palanquin and falls prostrate at that Jadabharata, saying that you are my Guru, tell me who you are. Then the story goes that Rahugana Maharaja changed his attitudes.
Puranjana, he was thinking of his wife at the time of death. It so happened that he became a princess in the next birth.
In the next birth. That's right.
And one more example that I recall is a sannyasi. He did not pay the price prescribed for a chapel, for buying a chapel.
That's what the story
in the next birth, it so happened that, he was a seller of chapels.
Cobbler. Many stories are said in the Puranas to bring home certain principles of life. The principle is narrated here in Bhagavad Gita. So if you read Bhagavad Gita, you have the messages of all the Puranas, Upanishads. That's why it is said it is the quintessence of the knowledge and the wisdom of Upanishads. Upanishads are the quintessence of knowledge and wisdom of Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas. So this Sarvopanishado Gavaha, Dogdha Gopalanandanaha, Partho Vatsaha, Sudhir Bhokta, Dugdham Gitamritam Param. We have seen the meanings of this much earlier in this discourse. So we get principles of wisdom. We have to take out these principles of wisdom and apply them in everyday life. So merely making Bhagavad Gita by heart, even Krishna decries the tendency that has grown for a long time in making Vedic Sanhita by heart, Vedic text. Of course, we recite very well, that is very pleasing, but at the same time, we must know the meanings of the Vedic Sanhitas. Veda Bhashya, studying them, is more important than mere recitation of Vedas. Of course, Vedic Sanhita recitation by heart helps us in preserving the text from time immemorial, but Krishna says, Veda Vada Ratah Partha Nanyadastiti Vadinaha Kamatmanaha Swargaparaha Lavante Yuddhami Yudhishan. So he says this merely reciting the Bhagavad Gita of Sanskrit is not good. I am not against that. It is very good. Those competitions which are organized at different places to test the students or the children about their memory power is very good. But at the next stage, we should also have the system or the schemes of telling them the meanings and the principles of life that Bhagavad Gita teaches.